That's,
So annoying. Whatever.
that's
No, told me
recording.
like that. And so it's not like that anymore. Okay. Hi. I think we're recording now for real.
Now
So
we're recording.
all is as it will be said to be, no matter what's going down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Huh?
100%.
Yeah. So you were asking me a question.
Oh no, yeah. So that point, right? About everybody kind of being, in a play, really. I put it in those terms. Like everyone's a character.
Right. Just because
And
we started to hit record now, I'm just going to, like, just because when we use this for future reference and on whatever platform we're going to use it, you had asked me about a video that I uploaded on my YouTube channel last night that you happened to catch or whatever and listen to. And you're asking me about a statement that I made in regards to the world or us being in our acts. Like, what do I mean by that and all that kind of stuff. So like I
yeah,
told
you said like you're gonna be like, this is your character, this is who you're gonna be, and everybody should be their own thing because that's who they are or whatever. And yeah, that's a fact because that's what this world is, right? Everyone has this spirit in them, right? Or whatever you want to call it, the mind or whatever that is just kind of like the body is like a marionette of that type of philosophy or whatever is inside that person.
This is why I like opening up to other people's perceptions and receptions and articulations and stuff like that, instead of people projecting or trying to understand like where I come from. So I can respect and I like that you asked me what did I mean and stuff like that, instead of assuming you knew what I meant in regards to like what I was saying, because poetry is always going to be my expression. It's just how it naturally comes out to me. So I think that has been a stump for me in my development over time that I had to get over. You know what I mean? Because I speak the way that I do colorfully too. Most people, like for all of my life, have made me feel weird or say that I'm weird or eccentric or like you're kooky or like crazy, like which you were mentioning the Jim Carrey stuff, right? Like even before I hit the record and stuff like that. So the way that I speak, even though it could be like evolutionary and it does have depth to it, most people that are not inclined to think like that or think, or be of that kind of eccentricities or open to that kind of like communication it's always like either flew over their head or like made me try to make me feel bad about how I express myself and stuff like that. So and it's interesting because I'm hearing your take on it and I'm like, I get the expansion and the openness of it, and I'm like, but where I was coming at from it was a totally different like perspective and meaning of what I meant. All the world is a stage. All the world is a play, like whatever that William Shakespeare kind of line. All the world is a stage, because I think about it from an evolution of conditioning, right? And so understanding that a lot of what we think we know or do and all this kind of stuff stems from our conditioning. So the like to be able to entertain a thought and not make it your own shows rise to like, one, you're acting in wisdom to think for yourself or to give yourself this opportunity to really understand for yourself. So that's where my understand, overstand concept, I'm always like overly emphasizing in a lot of my videos. Like, if you want to, we're under a system, right? We're under a conscious.
Yeah, everyone is born into their bounds, right? Whether it's because someone born in Russia is different than someone born in the US, and someone born in the West Coast is different than the East Coast. So, and then you have religion, and then you have all the other philosophies that exist, and it's like,
Right. It's like
it's,
conditioning.
we all born into that thing, whatever you want to call it,
Conditioning.
culture and all of that. Yeah.
Conditioning, because it's a conditioning
That's the seed.
under,
That's the seed.
right. So
That's what I would call the seed. As
what,
a like in levels of understanding, you know, like
deep like the sea, you mean, like the
yeah,
sea?
like the sea. The sea is the place of darkness where the creatures go. They don't really see anything, and
Say that with space
yeah,
too, like,
right.
all that. But like, yeah, I just think of elements, and just deep
Yeah.
like the sea, I go into like,
Or the earth as
right,
opposed to the
the,
heavens and
well, feelings too, like emotions, because water is a representative of emotions and how we feel
yeah,
about the
yeah,
sea.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Water is like the
Right.
conscience, yeah.
Right. And
Cleansing.
so we're all under this.
Spell.
But it's not. It's so the way that I try to make people just understand, understand, overstand, so that they can apply it in their own daily lives, because it's very useful in unconditioning your conditioning and helping yourself to see past the illusion, see beyond the veil and all this kind of stuff, is to just understand certain constructs of systems, like just, intellectually. So it's like, we are under a system. So what we create in this system is understanding, right? But to get there, we need to see that understanding is going to come from a system that's already created and stuff like that. So what you need is understanding. So you need to understand what you understand. And so that's coming to terms with how you feel about what is already there, what you're under already. So this is where peace and harmony can create balance and alchemy.
Right.
Because once you get into this position of understanding your position under something that you got no motherfucking control over, it just is what it is. It's what it was. It's what you've been fed. It's been
Right.
what you've been spooned. It's been what you've taught. It is the system. It's indoctrinated. It's where you are under. Whether you like it or not, you are under the system. So what you need to develop
That's the schoolmaster,
is your understanding of how you feel about all these things that you're under, right? And then
right.
the overstanding.
And then would you say that what you understand about yourself and your role is dependent upon how you see that system?
Well, no, well, of course, but
because some people understand, right? They like,
this is
they
where
know, oh, I'm in the system. I'm just gonna do it anyway, and I'm just gonna go along with everything. But they know that.
But this is where overstanding comes. So this is applied science. This is applied practice. This is why some people cycle the same bullshit, and this is why some others rise to the occasion and transform, transmute, and evolve past their circumstance and their conditioning, because they make the effort to put in it's one thing to be knowledgeable. It's another
the power to do, the power to apply the knowledge.
Wisdom is applied knowledge. Right. So most people don't apply that which they know. Right. That's what, like, one of my favorite quotes is, when you know better, do better.
That's the gift. Yeah.
And if you don't want to do better, at least hold yourself accountable, recognize it, like, and all this kind of stuff, and be accountable, responsible. And most people are not, because they're in a sea of denial, like, because they're not even seeing that which they
that's why most people are born blind. Yeah, that's why.
So I'm really big and a big advocate for understanding, overstanding, so that you can further develop your own truth, authenticity, and development. So when I was saying all the world is a stage, everything is a play, right? Gather here today. Do you know the role that you play? Is most times because people have a sense of lack there of self-identity, self-value, self-worth, self-love. And so if all the world is a stage, maybe Shakespeare had it right back in the day, because all the world is a show. So everything that you think you know comes from this show. So, okay, are you scripted or are you scripting? So it's like, okay, you're waking up from your sleep, sheep. Okay, let's go a little bit more further deep, okay? And we're going to go in to see for your own understanding. Now, where do you command? So a lot of people they won't go past the knowledge base of their evolution of like, I have no control, because they feel a sense of loss of control because this is the dominating system and this is the way the world is and I see it for what it is and blah, 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 right? And they do all
That's
this
the
other
natural
stuff.
state of people. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's
It's because they're not overstanding it for themselves, because they're not
they
understanding.
can't. There's
Right?
no way they could do it.
It's not that you can't, because if you can, they can
They
too.
need help. They need help. Yeah.
It's not, if you can
They
do
need help. Yeah, no, they need help. They just
it's
some
just, you know,
people
it's
want
a
it, some
matter
people
of evolution, perspective, and practice. Like
yeah.
everything that you want is not gonna come cheap. That's where
No,
work comes in.
yo,
And
that
stuff.
and nobody wants to do that work, because
Right.
that's what the scriptures say when it's like when it says that through much tribulation you will enter the kingdom. In order for you to elevate over the tribulation, right? Whatever the tribulation is, anger, greed, jealousy, being stuck in this thing like hopelessness or whatever, right? That tribulation, the only way to get above that is to go through it and to be taken through it and to kind of see how that plays into elevating your understanding of things.
Right.
But that's why, like, I was talking to my kids about
Sorry
generational
about the
trauma.
noise.
No, it's all right. I got this. That's you or me, one of us, because I
No,
have the same.
they're mowing the grass.
So like generation, they talk about generational. I forgot the word.
Generational curse.
Generational curse or generational trauma,
Uh-huh.
right? Where this trauma is passed from generation to generation.
Yeah.
But
False evidence appearing real too.
right, and what you notice, what the pattern is, that these people just see beyond the trauma, see that this trauma was caused to this person because da 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 da, and they don't have the mindset to overcome that trauma. And I could be hurt by somebody and never hold it against them, right? I hope that it don't happen because I don't want to be in that situation, but I just know that inside of me I got the mindset, and I hope the power to do that, right? So you don't know you have the power until you put in that situation, but
even
the
when
only
you're
way
in that situation and you're going through it, you don't see yourself as powerful.
right, exactly.
The acts that will get you there, only divine right timing will show you most of the times when you realize what tribulations you have risen from and gone through and got through and risen from, it's after the fact. It's never during the fact.
It's always like that. Yeah,
it's
like,
always. Oh shit, you know what? And then this is where credibility, accountability,
and then it's a cycle if you don't kind of repent, right? Repent, what does it mean? To just kind of stop, and just be like, all right, stop doing that, stop thinking that way. Don't, just look this way.
You see, like you use the word repent, and
that's right, like
it has a negative connotation to it. Like, so this would be maybe if for me, like I'm thinking consciously, so it doesn't affect me. Like,
well, that's just the word.
Right, but words trigger people to feel certain type of things, especially if you come from this indoctrinated system that has taught you or made you to believe or has made you feel an ill feeling towards something. When somebody tells me repent, the rebellious kicks in, and just and these are also archetypical behaviors, conditionings passed over time, right? So this is reactive memory acting out.
What is it that what word is that? What word would you use so that action of just completely changing your behavior, just stopping and going a different direction?
Right. Well, I part of my growth and development has been I'm master alchemist with my wording. So I don't speak a lot of things into existence anymore because I'm mindful about what the fudge I say when I say. But when I'm put in a position where someone has spoken something that I typically am mindful of, I always correct the sentence. In the beginning, when I first started correcting their sentence, I was doing it out loud because I was reaffirming and stuff like that. And granted, it annoyed a lot of people because I'm like, I'm sorry that you're taking personal offense to the sentencing structure that you put into my existence, but I have to play it out in perfect alchemy for myself. And you can do and believe and say whatever you want, but I got to fix it for my personal thing. So now that's years in the making. So now I don't necessarily have to do it out loud. It's just ingrained. And I understand the way that I am is not the way everybody's going to be. So unless they want it, they request it from me, they're like, hey, help me fix my vocabulary, or not to say certain things that speak against me, that are self-sabotaging and all this kind of stuff. I have a game that I made up with that since high school. So since high school, I've been playing this game, and over the years, it has developed over time, because through the practice of it, mind you, it was just a game, I had to change the rules all the time, because I learned it from the experience with my friends doing it, that I was like, okay, so now every single time the game was played again with someone new or something like that, I had to give them these rules that have developed since the years of high school. Like, you get what I mean? Like, because I'm like, I'm just saying from experience, I've learned from going at it hard. This is a tough game to play, and people usually, because I'm the one that's going to be your accountability partner in this kind of department, I get the shit under the stick. So I'm just going to let you know from here, like, when you ask me to play this game with you and I'm pointing out certain kind of things, there will be times that you're going to get frustrated with me, or you're going to feel frustrated towards me, because I'm correcting your language, especially at an emotionally charged moment that you need to just shut the fuck up. That's the name of the game, STFU, shut the fuck up. Okay? Like, because most of the times, like, we are so reactive. So one of the hardest disciplines to do when you're starting, like, to disciple yourself, right? You're discipling, right? Every day I'm discipling, right? And that's to yourself first, okay? Before you can disciple anywhere like else and all this kind of stuff. So it's a matter of recognizing the self-sabotage and the conditioning and the alchemy of what you have been saying for so long that has spoke against yourself. So I'm really big on that too. And so I'm, so like over time, for me, I do it silently. I don't need the, like, but that was a developmental process. I learned that the hard way. I learned that when people ask me to play and then they're in an emotional state and they're saying things away and I start correcting their sentence, Jennifer, right now I need you to get off your high horse, okay? Like, I've gotten it, like, like, I need you to just stop. And I'm like, okay.
Most of the time, because I figured that most of the time people are talking about the same thing, mostly the same thing you believe, or the same thing, just in a different word. They'll talk emotionally, and they'll use words that they understand to describe things that I may understand, using different words and all of that.
Right. Well, that's another.
That's what kind of teaches. That's kind of like why you have patience, really, because all right, this person is using these words. They don't even know that they're using these words because of this, and these words actually mean this, or whatever. And that's where you kind of learn to be patient.
Understanding it from a mathematical, as spiritual as I am, I go very practical with certain kind of things, because since we're also conditioned to learn in this kind of like system of mathematics. Yeah.
That's your daughter?
Yeah.
That's Olivia?
Yeah. Right. So so if we can just, like, for the people that, because a lot of the times we challenge ourselves too much, because we're trying to conceptualize something that you at this moment in time is not going to make sense to you. It's not going to work. So let me get to the practicalities of how I can make this work for myself. So it's just like 1 + 1 =. That's always up for debate. Like, my mind has expanded in that kind of department too, in terms of like evolution and cool, but just understanding it from a certain, I'm getting really distracted, so hold on. It's just because she's making noise and I don't want to lose what I'm gonna say. Who's that?
I would have lost it.
Right, no. Who's that? Still a lot of noise. I know you can't hear that noise, but I can hear it because it's just beyond this wall. I'm just waiting for her to exit. She's not exiting because she's back. What?
She's making sense.
Wait, hold on.
She's making food?
No. She wants to go get something. Thank you, baby. All right. Okay. So understanding it from just the like a mathematical perspective, of understanding the system of what's happening here from a vibrational frequency energy point. Okay, so just understanding that, okay, language, granted, it has an etymology to it, right? Okay, and it has roots. So for me, part of this practice came in for 15 plus years when I started paying attention to the words that I was saying, and because I've always been like a root word and a root worker kind of stuff, so I want to know what I'm saying and the origin of its word, because a lot of the times I would say things like that's just mimic. It's learning language, and I'm like, that don't feel right. Let me get to the meaning of this. Let me see where this originated from. Let me see what I'm saying, right? So like even with good morning, just because morning has so many different connotations to it, no matter how you spell it, a different spelling has a different meaning, but yet the same sound has all the meanings combined, because if we understand everything happens multidimensionally, simultaneously at every single time, I'm invoking all of this meaning at the same time. So I understand that so that I don't seek that anymore. Now, why would I be good to mourn? Like, fuck that shit. So Grand Rising, that's, so it became embedded in me, like just understanding the etymology of those words, and then also understanding like certain other words that were like 50-50 for me, and practicing not using it until I came to terms with what it meant for me before I used it. And until I knew what a word meant for me, because it can be a double way, I didn't use it, because that's the discipling that I'm doing for myself. But now understanding it from a mathematical concept, just so that you can know why you're even bothering to do this. Like, it's a lot of the times people don't remember stuff that they study or things like that, because if you can't explain something back, it's because you don't fucking understand the material. And how the hell you think you're gonna test great or high if you don't even understand what the fuck is going on at any given time? So I like, because I work a lot with children, I understand that there's a lot of language that I have, and I have to break things down as colorfully as can be, so that a 3-year-old can understand what the fuck I'm saying to it. Okay, so like, so we're speaking back. So it just requires patience, and it requires thought. And if you can't get through the patience or the thought, then just shut the fuck up. Like, because what you're saying is not going to be anything that's going to be helpful or useful in any kind of way, except misleading, deceptive, and creating energies that whatever. So just understanding it from a mathematical, I know I go really deep, but like understanding it from a mathematical perspective. I am energy. I create energy. And so I understand that. And I understand that I speak and my words have power. Why do they have power? Oh, because I am a feeling energetic being. Oh shit, what do you mean you're a feeling energetic being? That means that everything that I speak, I am energetically charging every word that I say, which makes the words that I say powerful in every kind of way. This is why lies hurt the person that's lying, okay? Because they could be saying a lie to try to cover up, but deep inside, they know the truth, and the energy of that which they execute is the damage that they do, that they don't see through the lie that they're trying to be deceptive with the energy, frequency, and vibration that they're creating. Whether they lying, unless you can be really like fucking psychopath.
Some people are really good liars, bro.
So, granted, but listen.
Because deception is deep.
Deception is very deep. But alchemy cannot be faked in any kind of way. So a person could be a great liar, great manipulator.
It won't last long.
And all this kind of stuff. I have to put, so let's not talk about this because I do have to answer this, but I'm pausing the record because I don't want to get this.
Baseline, that's why it shows like we all
was asking basically me off camera again.
What's the end? The end for all men, for everyone. Or what is the end of this world, kind of, in your philosophy?
What is
from what you know? I shouldn't say from your philosophy, from the knowledge that you have.
The end of this world for every human being will be the end of.
Like, what's the end of light? Like, of this temporal existence.
Well, we are energy. And what have we learned about energy? Energy, once created, could never be destroyed. What? That means that I'm immortal. Stop it. Blasphemy. How dare you speak such treacherous things against the indoctrinated system of just understanding myself as an energetic being. I know from my own personal human experience, which is that there is more to me than this body, because I've learned that in my experience. I've learned where I can go. I've learned what I can tap into. I'm learning every single day. I know that when I close my eyes, I am alive in every single kind of way. There's so many multi-dimensional pieces to my existence that make up this body that I can confidently, securely say that I know that I am going to be alive and be in every single kind of way, even when this body decays, even when this body is no longer here. I know this for real, right? But understanding it from a scientific perspective of just understanding energy in itself, which should be my cheerleader of great immunity, of wow, immortality and health, because I intellectually understand that once something is created and it's a living organism of all of this creation, even though it's on this 3D plantation, like it's just a simulation. So nobody get crazy about what this is perceived as avatar of a reality.
All right, so that's my question. What's the end of the simulation?
What's the end of whenever you transform into your next state of being, and that's going to be different for everybody. That's going to be different for everybody because we're all on different evolutions of living. And so part of like one of my great experiences with the concept of the Ouroboros, which is the serpent eating its own tail. And so it goes into the concept too of just our simulated life, of how everything is going to keep on cycling. We're going to keep on biting our own tail into our own mouth, cycling about. Everything always comes full circle in some kind of way. And how do you break out of the Pandora's box of living in every kind of ways? Understanding it in your today. This is the alchemized state that you create. What is Zen? What is this state of like infinite bliss of whatever the case may be? It depends on the human perception of understanding. What do you seek? Where are you on your evolution that has you at a standstill, or has you continuing to infinitely rise, accepting yourself in all disguise, all you, without any limitation? There are no boundaries. There's nothing here. Everything that is created here in this 3D perceived reality is a human conditioning. It's a part of that which we've made tangible for us to believe or perceive that is happening at this time. But I know I'm an energetic being, and I know that I can never fucking be destroyed. All I can only do and will know how to do, even beyond this human concept too, is to continuously evolve into whatever fucking stage, form of evolution that I am on, in whichever span of condition I find myself in. And I am confident in knowing that, and for myself. And I've learned that in my experience, even with all the loss I have experienced, and all the pain and all the human torture that I've experienced in my life today. I'm not talking past lives. I'm not talking all this kind of cycling of all this other kind of realities that could have possibly existed, or whatever the case may be. I know that this is not my first time in any kind of reality, because this is just one reality of a multi-dimensionality, and I'm an infinite being. So this structure, even in this womb that I came out of, that is supposedly my mother at this time, I was an energy fixture coming into the light. So I was already light. So I come from another life of many lives, many masters. A wonderful book for perception, reflection, introspection into the human psyche is a good recommendation of a book for someone that's on their spiritual revolution and evolutionary journey to read. And it's coming from someone that was a psychiatrist that didn't believe until this experience caused him to write this book.
I believe that. I believe something very, very, very similar.
Right. So
I just put it. I just put it in the sense of like we all are pieces of God, of the Creator, right? And that's who we are going to become at the end of all things, because that would be the perfection beyond
you're made in the
perfection.
image of God. Are you not God?
No, that you see that you're made in the image of God. You shouldn't say that, because that's not even true. That comes from the Bible, and that's a misinterpretation. It says God. It says dying you will die, right? And creating is the creator. So God is creating man, but the thing that we are today is not the end, because He says, "I'm going to make man in my image and likeness," right? The image and likeness of the Creator is not human flesh. We can't even see that. We
I have a
can only
question.
know it. Yeah.
You're an artist, right? And you draw things. And you see in your mind this creature that you're going to bring to life on this paper. And you're going to create this 3D imagining, because you're going to create a stream of consciousness, or a cartoon strip of something, right? So nobody sees what you see, because this
Is in
is
your
your
mind.
vision. This is what you see. So you get it down on paper. You know what I mean? You bring it to life. Is that creation not made in the image of its creator?
Is what image? That's a symbol. That thing you created is a symbol of something. Is a symbol of
Was it not made in the image of you?
well, what do you mean by image? Like my
Right?
likeness?
We are all made in the image of God, right? That you're saying it's a scripture I shouldn't say, but it's just a terminology. I say this a lot to a lot of people, because I know that a lot of people that come from religious backgrounds, that this is a trigger for them whenever I say it, because they always have something to say. So I that was intentional for me in every kind of way, like to get you riled up, because I know how.
No, is that Christians believe that they made
Right.
in God's image. They
We're made in
believe
the image of God, but still look at the sentence and the structure. You were telling me don't say that, it's wrong, but it's
that
right.
way. Yeah.
But it's right though, and like it's wrong and it's
Because
right.
that comes from the Bible. That when they say,
Right, and
we're
still
made in
that's
the
human. That's human. Somebody wrote that.
yeah, somebody wrote
You
that.
get
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Somebody channeled that, and I understand that through my channeling.
and that's why people believe it. Like they,
Right,
yeah.
but we're all made in the image of our Creator.
No, we're being made.
We're all so like even understanding.
Because remember, if we were made in the image of the perfect Creator, then we would have been perfect already.
We're perfectly imperfect. Why are you not perfect?
Because I'm in the time. I'm in clay. Because for me, perfection would be not to die.
Right, but that's a human conditioning.
No, that's a physical thing that happens, like science.
That's a human conditioning.
You're
looking
that's
at
a human
perspective.
Oh, you mean a human wait, you're not saying human conditioning, you're saying that's the human condition.
Right. That's
yes, that's a human condition.
So you're participating in the human
yes.
Although
understanding
it intellectually that you're an infinite being, so that
fact.
cannot be right.
Yeah, no, for me, right, the thing that I know will be infinite, right, will not be my flesh. It will be the joy, the love, the patience, the understanding, the wisdom, the truth that I have. That understanding, that spirit, or I don't know, people call it the conscience or the knowledge or whatever they want to call it, that thing that we can't touch, see, smell, we can't, the only way we can access it is to know that it's there, right? Like, and the way that it reveals itself.
That's why a lot of people miss it.
Yeah, the only way you can really see it is
to receive it is to connect with it.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah, it's just the wording. No, it's just, that's what I'm saying. We're talking about the same thing. So to me, right, that part is the example of the creator of the thing that I will become, and all men will be that. That's why these people talking about, oh, God is gonna come, Jesus is gonna come in the sky, and people are gonna come on the right and the left and be judges. Like, bro, no, that's not it, because judgment is really today, because it's today that we could see the difference between what's good and evil, and we could understand that, right? Because being angry for no reason is an evil thing compared to being angry because, well, I don't know if anger is even justified. Being angry at
What is it,
something
righteous
wrong.
anger?
Yeah. So you see, being angry at something that somebody did versus something that they didn't do, they did ignorantly, is a different kind of anger, right? Because if you're
You,
like purposely being angry,
I feel like we're so conditioned to invalidate our feelings that we make excuses for
is that there's nothing but feeling. It's just how you're like love and hate. What is love and hate? Nothing, because I have to show you the difference what it is. So I can love my children. This is a perfect example of what love is, right? But some people don't love their children. Some people love their car more than they love their children. Are you gonna say that that person doesn't love, or that their love is just misdirected, kind of, right? So you know, so it's a matter
our
of
love is always going to be in connection to where that we are in love, like, so it's
right,
always
right,
going to
right.
be different for everybody, like, I feel
But
like,
it's the
yes,
same kind of, but it's the same
I
spirit.
just
Just
I've gotten to the point of, even though I do debates and I can talk like this and stuff, personally, um the idea of any kind of indoctrinated kind of um story, history, scripture, texture, color, like, um for me, it's invalid in terms of even arguing over, right? I'm like, I don't want to say it like, well, I just like where I'm at in my peace. I'm saying, like, inside, in my understanding of just knowing that even the Bible, even, the religions, and just understanding it from its creation point, from the human perspective,
right, it's
um,
writing.
it's invalid. So all war and all roar for me to participate in is that Ouroboros, that serpent eating its own tail. So my no longer, it's like learning finally to stand up for yourself from being in like a narcissistic empathic kind of relationship, or somebody
Right,
that is abusive towards you, and you finally stand up to that which is oppressing you, suppressing you, depressing you, and you find your resolution, your evolution, and your solution, and you get rid of all the pollution and you heal. This is like an idealistic kind of like quick, like, not saying that it's going to be like that, because there's a lot of
no, yeah,
ups
you
and downs.
finding your peace. You got to find your
Right,
peace. Yeah.
right.
You
So,
can only
but
find
then
it
you
within
get,
yourself. Yeah.
right, but then you finally get to the point that, like, so for many, like, that have to learn how to forgive somebody that's not fucking sorry, right? But I need peace in my
That's
life.
almost impossible to do. Yeah.
It's not.
No, I'm saying it's almost impossible to
Right.
do.
It's
You
not.
gotta have a mindset. Yeah.
Right. And so having that kind of experience for myself, I'm only speaking for myself in terms of that, and knowing the possibilities and how
No, I
that
understand
can,
you.
that
Trust me, I know.
how that can be, right? And how challenging that is to get to that state of being. But, like, in order to be the alchemist of the new world order. She said it. Oh shit, Illuminati shit. Right? But in order to get to that level of breed, of seed that we need to continue to germinate upon and pollinate and create more of, it's going to be the ones that are doing that extra like work indeed, that's going to be that creation seed. Right now, when everybody's on defense mode, offended mode, and like, you can't say this mode because I'm gonna go in peace mode and I'm gonna attack mode and I'm a savage, yo. It, even if they're righteous, yo, it's wrong, yo. And I don't like using wrong and right. So I'm right now in my state of evolution where I'm not about that fight. And trust me, I'm a fighter. I get it.
Right.
I get your
Yeah,
fight.
because there's no need. There's no need to do that. Yeah.
Right. So instead, all I can do is be the example of breed of seed that I need to be. Even when you have the audacity to come check, don't get it twisted. That don't mean that we don't get like like you still but there's a different evolution to handling when you get to that peaceful resolution within yourself too, because there's been so many magical solutions that have presented itself to me instantly for being in this leveling of inner peace, and I'm like, oh shit, well, I didn't even think about that before. Like,
Yep.
what? There's a solution? Like,
That's
you know
wisdom.
what I
That's
mean? Like,
wisdom.
right. So I don't even know what we were talking about anymore. Like,
No, I don't know. I was talking about peace, about about the thing that about the thing that we're gonna be, right? The thing that like the infinite energy, the infinite energy that you say that we're all gonna be, right? So
right.
what I was saying, I was putting words to it. I was just saying that that infinite energy, right, is like what I think of is the love, the joy, the peace, the understanding that exists within us, right? Within us, the people who have that understanding, and with and the because remember, the knowledge of doing good or whatever, of peace and patience is one thing, but then the action of it, the revelation of it is different, right? Because you knowing to do something but just sitting back and meditating on what to do is never going to reveal itself unless you go out into the world and you're put in a situation where that thing is challenged. And then that's what tests whether you have that thing or not, the thing that you think that you have, right?
But I think that's from a human perspective too,
That is from a human perspective.
of being hard on ourselves too. So part of what like working with kids has taught me too, like a lot, is the patience we need and the understanding that
100%.
because of our human conditioning, we also have hard-headed syndromes, right? So in our hard-headed syndromes, we oftentimes learn things. By the time we learn things, it takes multiple times, multiple trials and errors and stuff like that. So we have a harsh conditioning embedded into we're programmed to accept harsh criticism in certain kind of degrees or ways. And that wave entertains everybody in different kind of ways. Like when you were just talking right now, it was like, it's either it'll show you if you got that thing or not. We all got that thing. It's whether we apply it or not, learn it or not, and all this kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Everybody has that the knowledge or the spirit to do this thing, but if you're put in a situation and it doesn't pan out, you could say you're a good person all you want, but if every time you go and you're put in a situation to do good, you do bad, whatever
right,
the good and bad is, then you're not really the thing that you say that you are, just because you think that you are that thing.
see, that goes
But that
deeper.
spirit, I say thing, but it's just people
That
call
goes
it a
deeper.
spirit or the
No,
soul,
because
whatever.
um because they be some trifling ass mofos, right? And people that do a lot of fucked up things, and a lot of people make mistakes and hurt people, right?
Right.
And I'm not here to judge or anything like that, but I am thankful for the amount of life experience that I have gotten to be a part of with people that do come to me for many kind of like different things, and judgment-free zone. So I deal and I work with a lot of people that are good. They're all good, but sometimes you could be as good as you want to be and do bad things. And these kind of people that make mistakes and things like that feel comfortable talking to me about this. So this is just from experience. I'm just sharing.
Yes.
Like, and I'm not exempt from making mistakes. I've hurt people and all this kind of stuff. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not thinking I'm no, we all learn, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? That's part of it. Like if we learn and stuff. But one part of where we can soften the blow and the harshness, the fact that anyone that even if they make repetitive mistakes over and over and over again, and and it could be so easy for one to say, well, stop fucking doing, like, stop cheating on your husband, stop cheating on your wife, you're hurting everybody. I know. And then like whatever, and then people hear it in the media, like stuff like, oh, that person has a sex addiction, or you know, and things like that. And or that person has this, like, look at the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, she has histrionic personality disorder and bipolar and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, and then although there's these conditions, these diagnoses and all this kind of stuff, and addictions and traumas and all these kind of things to take into factor, into play, then you have habit, behavioral patterns, and conditioning. Like a lot of people that cheat on their spouses saw that with their parents, saw that in their, you know what I'm saying? So we,
and they didn't know that there was no one around to kind of say that it was.
It's not, no, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. This is the argument. This is what's hurtful. You know that doing that to me will hurt us, but you still do it. So people personalize and like they think.
It depends. Look, I think about it this way, right? Let's say there's a father who cheats on his wife and he has a son, right? And the father is so good of a cheater that he explains to his son exactly how he does it to keep his wife unbeknownst to the behavior. Right? That kid will grow up thinking that cheating is not that bad as long as I can hide it well.
Right. Not all kids though. No. See, not all kids. So that's like the same argument. Like for me, like, so look at the opposite lash for them.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's opposites to that. That's just the example of that.
So like for my mother, right? My mom, my experience with my mother, although I idolized her and all this kind of stuff, was one of her big things was her infidelity. Like she cheated, and part of where people will say she's a bad mother was that she used to take me and my sister and we witnessed this all. So all the affairs she had and the scandals and all this kind of stuff, me and my sister, although my sister was a baby, I bore witness to, and I covered it up and I hid it and all this kind of stuff.
And when did you know? When did you realize it was wrong, or did
I always realized it was wrong.
You always knew it was wrong.
Get the fuck out of here. We know what's wrong and what's right. Like we know what's wrong and we know what's right. Again, it's just whatever excuses we give to ourselves or justifications that is going to make the hell that we think that we're going to tell, or we're going to.
That's why I said it's natural. Like, it's natural to do what's
right,
wrong.
But look at the opposite effect, though. Like, so one might say that promiscuity and like lack of self-love, respect, and whatever could be an influence that my mom had over me and my sister. Let's say that could have, let's say, turned out differently. Let's say I became promiscuous, or I became loosey-goosey, or I started like sleeping around and all this kind. But for me, it had an opposite, adverse effect. I became prudish. I was I didn't want to be spoken about the way that my mother was spoken about, like behind the scenes. And so it has been a huge part of my celibacy lifestyle too, and my ability to go years in between, like another relationship, another, like, you know, it helped me to learn to be okay by myself and accept that, and I'm my own greatest company, like, you know what I mean? So it had like an opposite. So again, the reasonings behind why someone's going to do what they do as they do, and the excuses that they're going to use to condone a certain kind of behavior, and then there's certain kind of malfunctions that could also contribute, or certain kind of medication. Like there's so many factors into what will contribute to a person repeatedly doing something if they're not labeled and diagnosed like psychopath and like totally like the rare kind. Like, you know, we can say all these kinds of stuff, but for the general public that just keeps cycling the same like stupid mistakes and all this kind of stuff, well, there's a lot of conditioning that creates that. And so again, it's gonna take the person that is affected by that to start depersonalizing each of that traumatic episode that person inflicted into their lives without victimizing themselves all of the time, to really understand the dynamics of what that's all about. Like, my abuse endured as a child, granted it's wrong. No child should be beat. No child should be neglected. No child should be emotionally manipulated. No child should be fucking mentally abused. No child, granted, but the shit fucking happens, right? The shit fucking happens. But now we can go down, it's not an excuse and it's not a justification, but you have a conditioning of this repeated cycle, the Ouroboros, the tail of the serpent, of repeated behaviors, tactics, and ways that have gone down even before I came into existence, into this world, that right. you can't see shit from shot. So
it's philosophy.
You have people that will tear apart their whole entire family and be so remorseful over it, but then will fucking do it again. So again, like, you know, granted, you make the bed you sleep in, and you're gonna have to eat that. You're gonna have to fucking eat that, which is a hard fucking pill to swallow. But yeah. I still have empathy and compassion towards the people that are really challenged, that are still stuck in that cycle, which is why I still work with a lot of people like that, because I know that there is rehabilitation and there is you just and the fact, for me, what I can honestly say is the fact that whenever somebody, like, especially when they see me or whatever, I'm like, the fact that you're here shows what a great person you are. So be kinder to yourself. The shit you have gone through, the shit that you have seen, and all the things that is sewn into your behavioral patterns and conditioning, I'm glad you're recognizing that now, so that you can be the change that you want to see and be and recognize in yourself, because nobody's going to be able to do it for you except yourself. And so, like, to be able to work, like, that's why, like, I started now too, like, I only help people that want to help themselves. I no longer force.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, like, you know, it's the shit that we learn.
Let me ask you, do you forgive your mom? Do you forgive, like, you've already forgiven her for what she's done,
I
right?
was never mad at her. It's now where I'm waking up to the reality of not, of the things that in my own, she was the least of, I over idolized her. I worshipped the ground she walked on. I intuitively knew certain kind of things. I defended her. I hated my dad growing up.
But do you feel that she hurt you?
Of course, she's a part of my conditioning. There are things that I overlooked that now I'm glad I can see from the conscious levels that I am, and all the healing I have done from the people that I wasn't okay with, that I can now see from a healthy perspective, her toxicities towards me that influence my life cycle of even just tolerating or just ways of being, and also all the good imprints that she has left upon me that has caused me to be the great mother that I am, and and to go about my parental systems that completely was different from everybody. When raising like my daughter and stuff like that, my whole family had something to say about the way that I raised her in every kind of way, because it was different. It was different, and it was really eliminating that fear, that control, what
made it different? What made it different as opposed to what the way that they would have expected it?
The freedom of speech without attacking her or shutting her down. The respect that I commanded and demanded for people to have towards her in every kind of way. Don't speak to her that way. She's like, you're not, like, you know, so like, you know, the regular language that they would use, like for an example, I'll just give a silly one, but like one time I overheard my dad call her stupid, and I jumped in, like, if you can't speak to her respectfully or with loving kindness, then don't speak to her at all until you can learn to control your speech or to speak in a way that's going to be respectful, because she's a human being just like you, and nobody needs to be called stupid. And so, like, I was always adamant about that. All her phases or her stages, I let her have them. You are your person. You don't want to comb your hair today? You don't have to. You're beautiful. You don't. So she's very like confident. Like also like asking her about religion. Do you want to go to CCD? Do you want to do this Catholic thing? Like, you know, do you want to do this? No,
They
okay,
don't want
you
to do
don't
it.
have
Yeah.
to. Like, you know, like, or
Yeah, I baptized my first son, and then after that, that's when I had the whole epiphany.
like she was
And then after,
baptized. That's about it.
oh, she got baptized.
She got baptized like way in the beginning.
Yeah, because that's like just
I
like
was
a
still a
family.
teenager and I was still under the influence, like, you know, whatever. Um, and that was it. But like, you know, and also spiritually, like, so all the stuff that she would see, we spoke about, like, you know, so she was raised free to be open about her spiritual experiences, which made it great because
What was her first spiritual experience?
she's
Would you say? Well, that you can remember.
well, when she was little, she was like 2 or 3. First of all, when she was like 2 or 3, she was drawing like 3D linear shit. Like she drew a helicopter at the age of 3. And
That's dope.
so like, and her dreams, she would have dreams and then she would see things. Like she would see full blown out apparitions. And then like certain things would be going down with me. And like she would say something random, like I remember one time I had I went to the like doctor and I had like, you know, and I was bleeding, right? So she's 3 years old. This is not information she knows. Like I picked her up, like, you know, like I went and I did my own stuff and she went to her daycare. I picked her up from my grandmother, like, you know, so she knows no idea. She hits me so hard and she's like, the blood is like, you special. But like she was always and very telling, like just very claircognizant, very clairpotent. She had a lot of like knowings, seeings, like sightings. The same thing with my nephew. You know, auras, like seeing a person clearly, things like that, or just calling people out. Like her thing that I had to do when I was raising her too, because being a free spirit is a double-edged sword. Because so like in front of the family, like she spoke her mind, like, and it wasn't, and I had to really see the argument, like, you know, because again, you can't be disrespectful, or, like, you know, in certain kind of ways, but I had to challenge disrespectful. So like, let's say if somebody says something, like my dad, or like he'll say something like stupid or whatever. I'm giving a bad example, but I'm just trying to give an example. And she'll be like, you know, just because you got into an argument with blah, you shouldn't talk to me that way. And then my dad will be like, Jennifer, how can you let her be so disrespectful in that kind of way? You get what I mean? Like, and then I would be like, what was, and then I had to think about, was that disrespectful? No. Should she have said that? Okay, maybe, you know, you don't need to you don't need to challenge authority, or, you know, granted, okay, I gotta work with delivery
It's not
here.
even a challenge of authority. It's more of like
Right.
throwing
So
something in somebody's face. You know that there's no
right.
reason.
So but like, so it was like that for her whole entire existence. Like, so I've always been like that mama bear. If I hear me roar, like I fix everybody's vocabulary real quick. So like, and some people didn't like it, like, you know, and they're like, oh, and they used to tell me she was gonna walk all over me, like, oh, because, you know, I had no, like, you know, because I'm this free spirit. And then I'm like, what is she doing? And then, like, mind you, like being as a free spirit, or like, you know, all this kind of stuff, she's like pretty homebody, don't do no drug, don't, like, she's not interested in a lot of like a lot of the stuff that most of this world is interested in. Like, you know, she is very good, head on her shoulders, very strong, very confident. She don't need you to tell her how beautiful she is. She fucking knows, like, you get what I mean? Like, you know, she's very clear and very wise, wiser than me. She's the parent. I sometimes feel like in the relationship, I'm the kid. You see us, like, she's more serious than me. You see, like, that's not no fabrication. That's motherfucking reality. You're like, you know, so, you know, and then our friendship, like, you know, which some might say, oh, you know, you're the mother. Remember that. Like, so I used to get told that too. I'm like, I know who the fuck I am. What the fuck? Does that mean that I'm like, what, a tyrant? Like, I don't understand. You must listen to me. I'm your mother. Like, what the fuck is that? Is a soul having a human experience too.
So you had so the thing is that you had different rules, you had different judgments really than they did.
I just
Right? Because I'm sure you established some criteria for what was, I'm sure there was some bounds that you had.
I in talking about it, and I didn't see, like, I am very overprotective about a lot of things. So like, so she would challenge me on like just, you know, like wanting a phone or wanting certain, so like she had to wait like a long time for, like, even though she had all
Wait,
technologies and all this kind of stuff, there was, and where were you going without me? And so like there was just a lot of,
hold on 1 second, Jen.
yeah,
Hold on
yeah,
one
yeah.
second.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause it too, okay?
Oh, so you not at least have like what call a fellowship, like a group of like-minded people that you could talk to, people that you could lean on in case, just
It's in passing, and also like I had a like, so the circle that I had or that I thought I had and stuff like that, like you know, everybody has like a circle. I really like I dissected a lot of stuff, like the people that were like my friends that were part of my circle took me in. You get what I mean? Like, so like I'm that friend that's very distant, and I always have that one close friend or something like that, like that in different time spans of my life that could be my best friend, or you know, something like that. And then the one time I did have like a circle of more than one, like that we all hung out and we were like family and stuff like that, until that, you know, came to an end. No fault on me, I'm just saying. It came to an end. Like, and my healing had to happen from all of that, and my understanding of that. People associate usually a lot of that when you have another spiritual awakening, you lose a lot more people that you thought were going to be part of your life, and you just like let it all go.
there's levels, to it. There's
Right.
levels there.
So I lost a lot at the same time. Like it was like 10 or more, you know, like flatline. And so I even wrote a poem about flatlining, like flatline earth, flat, you go, right? So but in understanding my 40 plus years of life, right? I have very deep friendships when I do have friendships.
Okay.
Like there's no superficiality to me. So the people that have been honored and I have had the honor to also have their experience in my world that has helped my development. It's the same, it's a two-way street here. Even if we don't speak anymore, even trust and believe and know that I have honored that connection, that soul tie, and I have learned, you know, like, but like in all parts of my life since early adolescence and stuff like that, I'm like that lone wolf, and I dip and I dive and I leave sometimes without even saying anything. And that has
Yeah,
been
I'm like that.
that has been, I've learned that too, when I'm like, why does that person have animosity towards me? And then I'm like, oh, we were really good friends at one point, and I just
Yeah.
left. I didn't even say goodbye, like, and I forget. And then somebody pointed it out to me on a trigger. They were like, you know, you think it's not hurtful? You're a great friend to have. And then like, you know, and I'm like, you calling me out? Like, wait a minute, because at that, up until that point, until that person said what they said to me, I was playing victim. Like, why are these people mad at me? You get what I'm saying? Like, not understanding that, hey, we were friends. Like, do you not care?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't speak to me anymore. Like one day we were like this, and then the next day you were like Hollywood, like goodbye. So, and like I didn't. It took someone to like really like make
To
me
correct that, to correct it, yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah, because it's like empathy. You gotta have empathy. Like, all right, I understand. You and your own, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go do this thing now. They can't be part of it because they're not for whatever reason. But it's like, at least like, hey, I'm gonna be gone for some time or whatever.
right.
I guess it's like that's like that's like not being part of the world, but being in it. You know, you kind of got to remember other people who are involved or whatever.
So the ones that have been longevity, long term, I would consider you someone like long term and sporadic, right? Like long term and sporadic. I feel like we've been like this since children. Like every single time we've played and like since young and all that, it's always been deep and like, you know, like galactic and cosmic or like debatable and like going like, you know, like whatever. So then you can understand it from that perspective of how we are. Like we've always been close from a distant galaxy away.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yep,
That's cool. So and our tie is that we're family. Like that's how I know you. That's how you know.
That's another thing. Yeah. That's like another layer. That's another layer.
Right. So that's how we got that connection, because we were born into the same kind of family.
Yeah.
So, and then the people that I have now after that flat line of that circle, that let's say is like I have a friendship with this guy, going on like 20 years, 21 years, like 20 years, but he's also a lone wolf. He has a lot of circles of different kind of friends and associates and stuff like that. And it's always been just, I guess, that energy of understand. So every single time we connect and we speak and all, everything's great, harmony, like wonderful things. And so there's no expectations, I guess, in that kind of way, but he's a really great friend and so trustworthy. And so it's an honor to have this person in my world, like I have. I'm like, wow, this is nice. You know what I mean? And then like, you know, there are others. I was just giving that as an example, but I'm just saying like, so it's people like that are busy, successful, and like, or like, you know, and out there doing their own thing too, that expectance, like, so like my old circle, my ex best friend or something like that, like her argument to me would be sometimes in our friendship, like, if I don't call you, you don't call me. And so the reason why a lot of my activity was in that direction was because it was kind of like a pull, like, you know, they were pulling, so they kept that friendship. So she was persistent about that, so we had a cycle of a friendship. But like my normal behavior is my hermitry, and like, but you know, like, so I consider that like my circle, my, you know, like whatever, it was cool, it worked for me, and I was like, okay.
At that time, yeah.
Right. So when that, like, we had a falling out, like it was a bad falling out, and up until that falling out, like we had never had even an argument, honestly. But even in my development of that healing and that understanding of that whole entire dynamic of friendship too, and the toxicities of that too, and the narcissistic dynamic of like all that manipulation and all that kind of stuff too, there's a lot of things revealed to me that I didn't get to see because I was so engrossed in it, you know what I mean? And like, you know, whatever. So, you know, we learn.
What helped reveal those things to you in that way? Like, what was your kind of your focal point of like the knowledge that you have?
I
like, like, what was the source of your understanding the things that you understood the way that you understood them?
Well, everything always time. Time is revealer of all truths, and just things that I cement into my root, right? So like, just like how conditioning and behaviors and patterns over time create behaviors and patterns and reactions from you over time that you just keep cycling in. Well, it's the same mindset that I have in regards to what I knew I want to spin. So I spin, when I get new development of insights and epiphanies and revelations to myself, I articulate it in a way that I can replay it back for myself, right? Because that's going to be my mental tape recorder that goes into conscious layers of thought. And just because of my understanding of that intellectually, I know that one time is all I need too. You know what I mean? And I need to like repeat it, fine, granted, then good. Repetition works for you at this time. I repeat a lot of things in my life. High-headed syndrome, I'm from that generation too. So like, so I apply that to the good too. Like, you know, with everything that I do, and it's like a mindset, right? Ask me the question again. I'm losing it. Ask me it again.
So basically, I just want to know, like,
right,
you know, because we all use words, right? Like I use words. Like I use words to describe you know, I'll use the third heaven and revelation and stuff like that to describe like epiphanies and going into the upper chambers of consciousness, right? But I use that because my baseline for understanding was Christian words. I
Right.
was using the
So,
Bible, and I used the Bible to,
okay.
you know, I kind of used the words in the Bible to explain the understanding I have, because that's what
I remember
Christ was
now.
doing, right?
You want me to lose it?
Oh no, go. Sorry. You see, I start back.
I think I remember it now. So my basis, my foundation of my own understanding, right?
Okay.
My basis, my foundation is that I am evolution. I'm constantly evolving. So my leveling of truth of what I understand to be at this moment in time is expansive. It's infinite in me. So even if I think this is my understanding,
Right, but how
I
do you
know
know it's infinite? How do you know that it's infinite versus not being infinite?
because I know that there is no binding law of anything unless you make it so. And even if this is its binding law and it'll never shift out of something else, it'll never be anything else, that's not for me to determine. It's evolution. And I know that understanding from my infinite growth of evolution, from being at standpoints like this, to have been learning to, wow, it can expand like this. I know that with wisdom, that I would never want to block an evolution of anything, anyone, right? That's karma on me that I don't need to carry. Like, why would I cock block this evolution because I'm seeing it as such fact? Like, who am I to determine that that's just that for that? So that's not my role that I play, nor do I want to participate in that. So I don't even go into that thought space. I wish everything evolution. That's my standpoint. That's my truth. And understanding evolution is to understand that it's constant. So I trust that. I trust that it's constant.
But
Whether
how do you know it's constant? Where did you get that idea from?
my own journey, myself, my witness, my observing, my experience, my processes, my personal progress will have me determine that evolution is infinite and motherfucking possible for everyone. But everyone's on a different stage, different page, different plateau of perceiving, receiving, and achieving. And that's not my place to determine what's their space, their race, that got nothing to do with me. So all I can do is continue to focus on that which I continue to grow, what I want to know, and I know that progress is the seed I'm always on the processing department doing, because I'm always in a transition of some transformation, of some revolution, of some evolution, because that's the path I'm on. And that's the path I want to be on. So if all the world's against that path that I'm on, I have found my understanding that that's what I'm on. And if nobody likes it, then that's okay. That's why people could get mad at me now, or like even giggling through, like, they're like, what's your problem too? I'm like, I don't know, but I got no problem. I wish you I wish you well though, okay? Like, okay, whatever. But everything is infinite. Everything is, if it's a living being organism, it's energy. Therefore, energy can never be destroyed. I understand that from my core. It can only be transformed. It could be transitioned. It could be made into something new. That's a simple way to understand it. It's made into something new. So what new is gonna be you? Most times people don't learn their human form, that they cycle back out. That's in another kind of whatever, to learn that which you didn't learn the last time. And I've been saying, and then I think about the process and the progress of my life since I was a little girl, and now I understand this from a deeper perspective. My argument to whomever I was talking to, because I was a crazy kid, right? I'm not doing this again. So my determination as a child was to learn every fucking lesson. To learn it and learn it because I'm not doing this again. and then learning, relearning like the stuff and just the cycles and even just literature that has been written, like, you know, and the cycles of life and the infernals of hell, Dante's Inferno, like, you know, all these kind of tribulations, revelations, revolutions, and the human conditioning, all just expressed in different artistry perspectives, right? Like
That's
it's
100% right.
right. Like I'm an artist. I write too. I speak too. I have people have questioned my dark poetry. I'm like, is that not raw enough for you? Why does something have to be wrong with me? I made something ugly beautiful. How about that? How about looking at the therapy in that, like, or its expression or something? So knowing my own eccentricities on top of everything has made me a lot more less conservative than the conditioned environment that would rather play it safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a little bit rebellious in that kind of way. Like, I guess, you know, whatever. I got my Astros to thank for that. I'm like, give me a little fight. I know too. I could be nice, but don't play with me. And don't play with me because I am notorious for ripping new assholes. Okay, don't with me. You heard that? That's at my grandpa's funeral. That's why I love my grandpa. I really, like, when I was thinking about a lot of stuff and all of our conversations and all the things that we had, and I'm like, we have never gone to war with one another. Like, he has never, ever made me feel anything less than accepted. For real. I went to war with everybody.
Yeah, but that's because you were not surrounded by people that could comfort you except for him.
So what?
That's what really I was asking, like, what comforts you? Like, who comforts you? Because sometimes it's hard when you're by yourself. Because I'm like that too. Everybody comes to me and I talk to them and I comfort them and they're going through trials and I'm like, it's gonna be all right. You know,
right, nobody, right? You, right?
But who do I go to? The only people I have are other people who kind of can understand where I am because they're like that.
Right.
In their part of the world or whatever.
Part of our conditioning too, and our heart, I feel like the 80s babies, one of their hardest lessons and challenges in this life is to learn to be okay with that. When they're
forgiveness, that's forgiveness. Yeah.
It's not, no, and we think so. We think
that's forgiveness.
That's victimization then. You're looking at it from a victimized, like, why I don't get that. Still,
no, because it takes courage to
forgive something that was never a stab at you. You get what I'm saying? It's a perception, because one
is a stab at the flesh. That's why you forgive. Because remember, things hurt.
You look at it like an offense. That's what I'm that's the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. There is no offense made. Because you are compassionate, because you are the healer of your ages, and you're the one doing that light work, and you feel compelled, and you're in that evolution to give that, to gift that to people that are incapable of having that or don't have that for themselves. And you are the light, and because you see it, you understand it from that perspective, that's on you. You not receiving it in return is not an offense to you. It's not even an attack to you. There's nothing to forgive. And one of the hardest lessons, and I know I referenced it towards the 80s babies because I see it strong in that generation, but I'm sure it comes from many other generations and other people feel the same way too, because it's a cycle of behavior and stuff like that. But one of the most challenging moments to get into your state of peace is to realize it was never an attack. There is nothing to forgive, and these people don't owe you shit. Your state of evolution and being in that state of evolution is why you're the alchemist, is why you're the new way to be, because you're coming out of that sleeper state and stuff like that. So these demands and these commands and these loneliness and these feels are your levelings with your devilings that you have to find the alchemy for, that is part of your trigger system of alchemy and balance. So until there is no offense towards that, and it's still a challenge. I'm telling you, like I like, even like for myself, like most of my life I didn't get that comfort, and then I had to start. But I did.
You had it the whole time. You just didn't see it that way. That's how I see it, right? And that's what we call Christ, right? That comfort is what
Or
is the
gratitude. How about that?
Christ, right? Right. That's
Like,
the name of that. That's the name that you give that creature or whatever.
well, I started practicing gratitude a lot more, and because I wanted it solidified in myself. So that was like, I want to say like 15 years ago. I really like I started writing my gratitude list, and I had to add 10 every single day. Even if I repeated myself, even if I got a block or whatever, I had to add 10 every single day, and I had to at least read it back to myself before I went to sleep at night. And then when I wake up, read it again, and then write what I'm grateful for waking up again, and get myself into the habit. So I did that for a while. I did that until it was just instilled into my being to be grateful more than ungrateful in my way of seeing. And the more that was solidified in me, and process takes time to progress. I That's all I see now.
Yep.
Right?
That's
Everything's
creative
a
right there.
blessing, like, and I enjoy it with nature. I enjoy it, like the birds, like like every time I go outside, they start singing even louder. Like, my animals, the people,
Yep.
things that I get to do, the lovely. I was for a while with the fact, like the cyber stalking and the gang stalking and the death threats that I was getting and all that kind of stuff. For a while I was just so like victimized, like in my mind, but I was but prideful too, and all this kind of stuff, that I was forgetting all the other messages that I get to from people saying, hey, I look for your posts every day, like, and just the nice things that people have to say. And I was forgetting because all this other shit was like going on. And I'm just like, and then now it's like a shutdown of that system, and take back your power and take back that control, and do what you need to do. And now I'm gonna fuck. But you know what I'm saying? But like that takes a while too, like, of what it's like a fork. We always have a fork in the road. So it's, which fork are we gonna fork? Which fork are we gonna take? Like, and so you can look at the bad, you can look at the negative, you can look at this kind of way, or you can look at the good, and there's a lot more good. So,
Yep.
and if that's how you want to see it. So hold on 1 second. I'm gonna pause this recording because I have to answer this question. Alright, so we took a little mini break, but now we're gonna start wrapping it up. So I do want to say something though. So I just been like crazy busy since the last time we met up, that I didn't. I saved our thing. I just haven't uploaded, so I'm gonna send it to you, and then I am gonna share it, and then I'm gonna share it, and then I'm gonna share this one too. And then, like,
Sure.
whatever. I'll see. I have to make whatever. I have to do other little stuff and stuff. So do you have any other questions before you have to go? Because I know we got busy alchemy things to do.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
I love our combos.
I know, it was really cool. So thank you so much. I'm gonna share it. I'm like, whatever. And I'll see you. I'll speak to you soon, and I'll see you again next week if anything. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Peace
Take
out.
care, Joe.
Okay. Bye bye.